Dad, you have to help me. Daniel's voice cracked through the phone at 2:47 a.m., raw with terror. They arrested me at the airport. They're talking about 20 years. I stared across my kitchen table at 12-year-old Melody, calmly eating her peanut butter sandwich, those sharp blue eyes watching me with the kind of cold intelligence that made my blood freeze. 3 days ago, she'd smiled and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa. I've handled it." Now I knew exactly what she meant. But let me take you back to Tuesday morning, when this nightmare began with a bank statement that changed everything. My hands shook as I stared at the bank statement. 12 years of saving, 12 years of birthday money and Christmas checks, 12 years of sacrificing my own comfort to build something for Melody's future, gone. All $47,000 of it. Grandpa, Melody's voice cut through the ringing in my ears. She stood in my kitchen doorway, backpack still slung over her shoulder from school, those sharp blue eyes studying my face with the kind of intensity that always made me nervous. At 12, she was too smart for her own good, too observant, too calculating. Just like her father had been at that age, before he turned rotten. "Sit down, sweetheart." My voice cracked. How do you tell a child that her own father, my son, had stolen her entire future and disappeared with some 25-year-old yoga instructor named Amber? Melody dropped her backpack and slid into the chair across from me. She folded her hands on the table like she was preparing for a business meeting. Dad took the money. It wasn't a question. How did you? He's been acting weird for months. Secretive phone calls. New clothes. That stupid cologne that smells like a teenager's locker room. She shrugged. Plus, Amber's been posting Instagram stories from expensive restaurants. Dad doesn't make that kind of money at the insurance office. The casual way she dissected her father's betrayal hit me harder than the empty bank account. This kid should be worried about middle school drama, not analyzing financial fraud. Melody, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this coming. Should have protected. Where did they go? Costa Rica, according to his note. Apparently, they're starting a new life together. The words tasted like ash. He cleaned out his own accounts too. Left his job yesterday. Just gone. I watched her face, waiting for tears, for anger, for the breakdown any normal 12-year-old would have. Instead, she smiled. Not the sweet, innocent smile I was used to, but something sharper, more knowing. "Don't worry, Grandpa." She reached across and patted my weathered hand with her small one. "I've handled it." The hair on my neck stood up. "What do you mean, handled it?" That smile widened just a fraction. "Trust me. For 3 days, I barely slept. The house felt hollow without Melody's constant chatter, without the sounds of her practicing violin or arguing with her homework. She'd gone to stay with her best friend's family while I tried to figure out what came next. How do you rebuild a college fund at 71? How do you explain to a brilliant kid that her dreams might have to wait? I'd already called my lawyer, Marcus Wright, a good man who'd handled my late wife's estate. He confirmed what I already knew. Legally, Daniel had every right to that money. As the account's primary holder, with me listed as beneficiary, he could drain it completely. The fact that it was meant for his daughter was irrelevant in the eyes of the law. Criminal charges are possible, Marcus had said. But if he's in Costa Rica with no intention of returning, and if he's already spent the money, he hadn't needed to finish. Justice was expensive, and even if we won, you can't squeeze blood from a stone. The call came at 2:47 a.m. on Thursday. "Dad." Daniel's voice was high, panicked, nothing like the confident tone he'd used in his goodbye note. "Dad, you have to help me. Something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong." I sat up in bed, my heart hammering. "Daniel? Where are you?" "I'm at the police station in San Jose. They arrested me at the airport. They say I'm wanted for embezzlement. Federal embezzlement, Dad. They're talking about extradition. They're talking about 20 years in prison." "What are you talking about?" "You took Melody's college fund, not." "No, not that. From Peterson Insurance. They say I've been skimming from client accounts for months. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I didn't, Dad. I swear to God, I didn't do this." My blood ran cold. Peterson Insurance was where Daniel had worked for 8 years, handling workers' compensation claims. If they were alleging embezzlement. "Dad, are you there? Please, I need a lawyer. I need." "How much money are we talking about?" $340,000. They have bank records, transaction histories, everything. "But it's not me. Someone set me up. Someone who knew my passwords, my access codes." His voice broke. Dad, I'm scared. I should have felt satisfaction. Justice, served cold. Instead, all I felt was tired. I'll call Marcus in the morning. But Daniel, I don't have the money for a defense attorney. Not anymore. The line went quiet except for his ragged breathing. Dad, I need you to know, the college fund money, I can get it back. Most of it, anyway. I only spent maybe $10,000 on the trip and some gifts for Amber. The rest is in an offshore account. I can transfer it back as soon as. As soon as what? You're in jail, Daniel. As soon as I get out of this mess. This insurance thing, it's not real. Someone's framing me. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. $300,000 in embezzlement charges. Federal crimes. Extradition treaties. My son wasn't just a thief. If the allegations were true, he was facing decades in prison. But something nagged at me. Daniel was selfish, impulsive, and weak, but he'd never been particularly clever. Embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars required planning, technical skill, and patience. It required exactly the kind of methodical intelligence that I've handled it. Melody's words echoed in my memory, along with that unsettling smile. I picked her up Friday morning with my head spinning. She climbed into my truck like nothing had happened, chattering about her friend's golden retriever and some science project due next week. Normal 12-year-old concerns. But those blue eyes kept flicking to me, watching, measuring. Dad called last night. I said as we pulled into my driveway. I know. She unbuckled her seatbelt and gathered her overnight bag. How's Costa Rica treating him? The casual way she said it made my skin crawl. He's in jail, Melody. In a Costa Rican jail, facing embezzlement charges. She paused, one hand on the door handle. For just a moment, her mask slipped, and I saw something that looked almost like guilt. Then it was gone. That's terrible, Grandpa. I'm sorry. But she didn't sound sorry. She sounded satisfied. Inside, she went straight to the kitchen and started making herself a sandwich, moving around my space like she owned it. Everything about her posture, her movements, the way she hummed under her breath, it all screamed guilt. But guilt about what exactly? Melody. I sat down heavily at the table. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. She looked up from spreading peanut butter on bread. Okay. Did you have anything to do with your father's arrest? The knife stilled in her hand. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she set the knife down carefully and turned to face me fully. That depends on what you mean by anything to do with it. Christ. She sounded like a politician. Did you set him up? Another long pause. I didn't put the money in his accounts, if that's what you're asking. That's not what I'm asking, and you know it. She sighed, suddenly looking older than her 12 years. Grandpa, do you know what social engineering is? The question caught me off guard. No. It's when you manipulate people into giving you information or access they shouldn't give you. It's the most common form of cyber attack. She sat down across from me, folding her hands again in that unnaturally mature way. Did you know Dad used the same password for everything? His email, his bank accounts, his work computer. The same password he's used since high school. My mouth went dry. Melody. Melody Rose 1998. My name and the year he graduated. She tilted her head. Not very creative. How do you know his password? I've known it for years. He's not exactly subtle when he types. And he never changes it because he thinks he's smarter than hackers. She picked up her sandwich and took a small bite. He's not. I stared at this child, my granddaughter, my sweet Melody, and felt like I was seeing her for the first time. What did you do? I protected my future. Her voice was steady, matter of fact. When I figured out he was planning to leave with Amber, I knew he'd take the college money. I also knew that wasn't fair. So I made sure there would be consequences. You framed your own father. She flinched at that. I didn't frame anyone. I just provided evidence of crimes that were already being committed. What crimes? Daniel's an idiot, but he's not an embezzler. Isn't he? She pulled out her phone and started swiping. Peterson Insurance handles workers' comp claims, right? Big settlements, disability payments, medical expenses. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Did you know that 17 of Dad's cases over the past 6 months were fraudulent? Fake injuries, fake medical reports, fake doctors. She turned her phone around, showing me what looked like a spreadsheet. He wasn't stealing money directly. He was approving fraudulent claims and taking kickbacks from the people filing them. 30% of every fake settlement. The room tilted. That's impossible. Is it? Dad's been stressed about money for years. Child support, his car payments, credit card debt from trying to impress Amber. A legitimate insurance investigator would have caught these fake claims immediately. But Dad wasn't investigating them. He was rubber stamping them and collecting his cut. I stared at the spreadsheet on her phone. Names, dates, dollar amounts, medical codes I didn't understand. How do you know all this? Because I've been monitoring his work email for 3 months. She said it like she was discussing the weather. Ever since I overheard him fighting with Mom about money and mentioning something about easy cases at work. Monitoring his. Melody, that's illegal. So is insurance fraud. She pulled her phone back and continued eating her sandwich. The FBI has been investigating Peterson Insurance for weeks. They just needed someone to provide them with specific evidence about which investigator was involved. My head was spinning. You contacted the FBI? Anonymous tip. Along with detailed logs of every fraudulent case Dad approved, copies of his email correspondence with the fake claimants, and bank records showing suspicious deposits into his personal accounts. She looked up at me with those two intelligent eyes. I also may have suggested they coordinate with Costa Rican authorities about potential flight risk. I couldn't breathe. This 12-year-old had orchestrated a federal investigation. Melody. Honey, do you understand what you've done? For the first time since this conversation started, she looked uncertain. I protected my college fund. You sent your father to prison. Her face crumpled just a little. He sent himself to prison. I just made sure he got caught. The next few days blurred together. Marcus Wright called to confirm that Daniel was being held in Costa Rica, pending extradition. The evidence against him was, in Marcus's words, overwhelming and incredibly detailed. Someone had provided law enforcement with a complete roadmap of his crimes. Whoever compiled this information, Marcus said, knew exactly what they were doing. This is professional-level investigative work. I didn't tell him it was done by a 7th grader with a laptop and too much time on her hands. Melody went to school, did her homework, practiced violin, acted like a normal kid. But I caught her watching me sometimes, measuring my reactions, wondering if I was going to turn her in or kick her out, or what? What do you do with a child who's capable of this level of manipulation? The answer came on Tuesday, when she walked into my kitchen after school with an envelope in her hand. This came today, she said quietly, setting it on the table. It was from Peterson Insurance Company. Inside was a check made out to me for $47,000. I don't understand, I said, staring at the paper. Restitution. When they recovered the money Dad stole, they cross-referenced it with his personal banking records. The college fund transfer was clearly documented. She sat down across from me. The FBI contacted them about returning the money to the victim, me. Since I'm a minor, they sent it to my legal guardian. That's not how this works. Restitution in criminal cases can take years. It can, unless the money is still sitting in easily traceable accounts, and unless the company wants to demonstrate good faith cooperation with federal investigators, and unless someone provides them with detailed documentation of exactly which funds came from which source. She folded her hands. I may have helped them connect some dots. I set the check down carefully. You planned this whole thing. I planned to protect myself. Her voice was small. When Dad started acting weird, I got scared. I started paying attention. And when I realized what he was doing at work, I realized he wasn't just going to steal from me. He was going to get caught eventually anyway. So I made sure it happened on my timeline, not his. And the timing? Right when he was leaving for Costa Rica? She looked down at her hands. I wanted him to feel what it was like to lose everything important to him, like he was doing to me. The honesty in her voice hit me harder than her manipulation had. This wasn't just a brilliant child playing games. This was a hurt, angry girl who'd been betrayed by the person who was supposed to protect her. Melody, I said softly. Are you okay? She looked up at me with tears in her eyes for the first time in weeks. I don't know, Grandpa. I don't know if what I did was right or wrong. I just know I couldn't let him take my future away and get away with it. I reached across the table and took her hands. They were shaking. You're 12 years old, I said. You shouldn't have had to protect yourself from your own father. But I did have to. And I did. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Does that make me a bad person? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Daniel's number. I looked at Melody, who nodded slightly. Hello, Daniel. Dad. His voice was hollow, defeated. They're extraditing me next week. I'm going to be in federal prison for the next 15 years minimum. I know. The lawyer they gave me here says the evidence against me is airtight. Bank records, Email logs, everything. Someone documented every single fraudulent claim I approved going back 6 months. He paused. Dad, I didn't even know I was committing a crime. These people approached me, said they needed help with their claims, offered me a little money to push things through faster. I thought it was just bending the rules a little. You thought taking kickbacks for approving false insurance claims was just bending the rules. I thought it was just helping people get money they deserved anyway. The insurance company has billions. What's a few thousand here and there? His voice cracked. I didn't know they were fake injuries. I didn't know I was part of something bigger. I watched Melody's face as she listened. She looked sad, but not surprised. Daniel, even if that's true, you still stole Melody's college fund. I know, and I'm sorry. Dad, I need you to know, I never meant to hurt her. I thought I could make more money quickly, invest it, pay her back with interest. I thought Amber and I could build something together, and then I could give Melody even more than what I took. But instead, you got caught. Yeah, instead I got caught. He was quiet for a moment. Dad, can I ask you something? What? In all those emails the FBI showed me, all those bank records, all that evidence, it's almost like someone was watching me. Like someone knew exactly what I was doing and documented everything. His voice got smaller. You don't think? I mean, Amber wouldn't. Would she? I looked at Melody, who shook her head slightly. I don't know, Daniel. Because if she set me up, if she was working with the FBI or something, then maybe I can fight this. Maybe there's entrapment or... Daniel, stop. Just stop. The weariness in my voice surprised even me. You committed crimes. Multiple crimes. Someone documenting those crimes doesn't make you less guilty. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. How's Melody? Is she okay? Does she hate me? I looked at my granddaughter, who was staring down at her hands again. She's hurt, Daniel. She's 12 years old, and her father stole her future and abandoned her. How do you think she feels? I want to talk to her. Can you put her on the phone? Melody looked up at me and shook her head firmly. She doesn't want to talk to you right now. Please, Dad. I need to explain. I need her to know I didn't mean to hurt her. You did hurt her. Intention doesn't matter. Please. 5 minutes. I looked at Melody again. This time, she held out her hand for the phone. I hesitated, then handed it over. Hi, Dad. I couldn't hear Daniel's side of the conversation, but I watched Melody's face as she listened. Her expression never changed. Calm, composed, almost businesslike. I know you're sorry, she said finally. But sorry doesn't give me my college fund back. Pause. Yes, I know Grandpa got the money back from the insurance company. But that's not the point. Pause. Her jaw tightened. No, Dad. You don't get to do that. You don't get to steal from me and then take credit for me getting my money back. Her voice stayed level, but there was steel underneath it. You want to know how I'm doing? I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine because I learned not to trust you. Longer pause. I saw her hand tighten on the phone. What do I mean by that? She looked directly at me as she spoke. I mean that when you started acting suspicious 3 months ago, I started protecting myself. I mean that when you took my money and ran away with your girlfriend, I was already 10 steps ahead of you. My blood turned to ice. That's right, Dad. It was me. Her voice never wavered. I'm the one who documented your crimes. I'm the one who contacted the FBI. I'm the one who made sure you got caught. I could hear Daniel's voice through the phone, getting louder, more frantic. Because you were going to steal from me and get away with it, Melody continued. Because you thought I was just a stupid kid who wouldn't fight back. Because you forgot that I'm smarter than you. She listened for another moment, then smiled that sharp smile I was learning to fear. You want to know the best part, Dad? I didn't even have to lie. I just had to pay attention. You committed all those crimes yourself. I just made sure the right people found out about them at the right time. More frantic talking from Daniel. No, I don't feel bad about it. You know what I feel bad about? I feel bad that my own father put me in a position where I had to choose between protecting myself and protecting him. Her voice finally broke, just slightly. And I chose me. I will always choose me over someone who tries to hurt me, even if that someone is you. She hung up without saying goodbye and handed the phone back to me. We sat in silence for a long time. He knows now, I said finally. Good. He should know. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve again. Grandpa, are you angry with me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. A 12-year-old girl had orchestrated the downfall of her own father. She'd manipulated federal investigators, accessed computer systems illegally, and destroyed a man's life with the kind of cold precision that would make a mob boss proud. She'd also protected herself from a man who would have stolen her future without a second thought. No, I said. I'm not angry with you. Are you proud of me? That was a harder question. I'm proud that you're strong enough to protect yourself. I'm worried about what that strength might cost you. She nodded slowly. I'm worried about that too. The next few weeks fell into an odd routine. Melody went to school. I worked on rebuilding the garden that had been neglected since my wife died, and we both pretended that everything was normal. The college fund money sat in a new account with both our names on it. I wasn't taking any chances with trusting any one person ever again. Daniel called twice more, but Melody refused to speak to him. The last time, he just cried into the phone for 10 minutes while I listened. He'd been officially extradited and was awaiting trial in a federal facility in Florida. His lawyer expected him to take a plea deal, 12 to 15 years with the possibility of parole in 8. Amber had disappeared. According to Daniel, she'd emptied their joint account in Costa Rica and vanished the day after his arrest, leaving behind only a note saying she couldn't handle the drama. I really thought she loved me, Daniel had said during that last phone call. I thought we were building something real. I'd wanted to tell him that 25-year-old yoga instructors don't generally fall in love with 43-year-old insurance adjusters unless money is involved, but he sounded broken enough already. She played you, was all I said. Yeah, just like Melody played me. That had made me angry. Melody is 12 years old, Daniel. She's a child who protected herself from someone who was supposed to take care of her. That's not the same thing as a grown woman running a con. Isn't it, though? They both manipulated me. They both lied to me. They both got what they wanted and left me with nothing. I'd hung up on him after that. The truth was, I didn't know how to feel about what Melody had done. The methodical way she destroyed her father's life was disturbing. But the fact that she'd had to do it at all was more disturbing. What kind of world were we living in where a 12-year-old had to become a criminal to protect herself from criminals? The answer came on a Thursday afternoon in November, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I was raking leaves in my backyard when I heard voices from the front of the house. Melody's voice and someone else's. A man I didn't recognize. I walked around to the front yard and saw Melody talking to a middle-aged guy in a cheap suit. He was holding a badge. Can I help you? I called out. The man looked up. Are you Thomas Westfield? I am. Agent Patterson, FBI. I was hoping to speak with you and your granddaughter about the Daniel Westfield case. My blood pressure spiked. Is there a problem? Not exactly a problem. We just have some follow-up questions. He looked at Melody. Miss Westfield has been very helpful to our investigation. Melody looked calm, but I could see tension in her shoulders. What kind of questions? I asked. The kind that might be better discussed inside. I led them both into my living room. Agent Patterson sat on my couch, pulled out a notebook, and got straight to the point. Miss Westfield, we've been reviewing the evidence you provided in the Daniel Westfield case, and we're impressed by the quality of your investigative work. I just paid attention, Melody said carefully. You did more than pay attention. You conducted sophisticated digital surveillance over a period of months. You compiled detailed financial records. You cross-referenced multiple databases to identify patterns of fraudulent activity. He looked up from his notebook. That's not just paying attention. That's professional-level investigative work. I felt sick. Agent Patterson, I said, are you suggesting my granddaughter did something wrong? I'm suggesting she did something remarkable, and I'm wondering how a 12-year-old acquired those skills. Melody looked at me, then back at the agent. YouTube videos. Computer programming tutorials, cybersecurity courses, white hat hacking demonstrations. It's all online if you know where to look. She shrugged. I got interested in computer security after someone hacked my friend's Instagram account last year. Agent Patterson made a note. And you used these skills to monitor your father's activities? I used these skills to protect myself when I realized my father was planning to steal from me. How did you realize that? Melody was quiet for a moment, thinking. Little things. He started asking questions about my college fund, how much was in it, who had access to it, whether I ever checked the balance. He started being secretive about his finances. He was stressed all the time, but suddenly had money for expensive dinners and gifts. She looked down at her hands. And he started talking about Amber more than he talked about me. Agent Patterson nodded. So you decided to investigate. I decided to gather evidence. I had a feeling he was going to do something that would hurt me, and I wanted to be able to prove it if he did. But you discovered more than just plans to steal from your college fund. I discovered that he was already stealing. From other people. From his company. From insurance claimants who deserved real help. Her voice got harder. I discovered that my father wasn't just a bad father. He was a criminal. And once you discovered that, you contacted law enforcement. I provided an anonymous tip with supporting documentation. She looked directly at Agent Patterson, which is what any good citizen should do when they discover evidence of crimes. He made another note. Miss Westfield, I have to ask, did you access computer systems you weren't authorized to access? This was the question I'd been dreading. I accessed my father's email account and bank records using passwords he freely used in my presence. Melody said carefully. If someone writes down their password on a sticky note next to their computer, and if they type that password while their child is watching, I'm not sure that constitutes unauthorized access. Technically, it does. Technically, a lot of things constitute crimes. But prosecutors have discretion about what cases are worth pursuing. She tilted her head. Don't they? Agent Patterson smiled slightly. They do indeed. He closed his notebook and stood up. Miss Westfield, I want you to know that your evidence was crucial in building a case against your father and the insurance fraud ring he was part of. Because of your work, we've identified 14 other fraudulent claims beyond the ones your father processed. We estimate you've helped us recover over $2 million in fraudulent payouts. I stared at him. $2 million. Your father was small-time compared to the overall operation, but his records led us to the bigger players. He looked at Melody with something that might have been admiration. You did good work. After he left, I sat in my living room staring at my granddaughter. $2 million, I said. I didn't know it was that big, she said quietly. I just knew Dad was involved in something wrong. Melody, what you did, the computer skills, the investigation, the way you manipulated the timing of everything. That's not normal 12-year-old behavior. She sighed. I know. Are you okay? I mean really okay? She was quiet for a long time. Grandpa, do you remember what you used to tell me when I was little? About how the world isn't fair, but that doesn't mean we have to accept unfairness? I nodded. It was something I'd said often after her grandmother died, when Melody would ask why bad things happen to good people. You taught me to fight back when someone tries to hurt me. You taught me to be smart, to be strong, to not let people take advantage of me just because I'm young or small. She looked up at me with those two intelligent eyes. I did exactly what you taught me to do. She was right, and that terrified me. But sweetheart, there's a difference between standing up for yourself and destroying someone's life. He destroyed his own life. I just made sure there were consequences. She stood up and walked to the window. Grandpa, do you want to know what really makes me sad about all this? What? It's not that Dad tried to steal from me. It's not even that he abandoned me for some woman he barely knew. She turned back to face me. It's that he made me become someone I didn't want to be. The pain in her voice hit me like a physical blow. 3 months ago, I was just a kid who liked science and violin and worried about pop quizzes. Now I'm someone who can hack email accounts and manipulate federal investigators and destroy people's lives. She wiped her eyes. I didn't want to be that person, Grandpa. But he gave me no choice. I stood up and pulled her into a hug. She felt so small, so fragile, despite everything she'd accomplished. You're still just a kid who likes science and violin, I whispered into her hair. The rest of it, that was just survival. Was it? Or am I turning into someone scary? I pulled back and looked at her face. Do you feel scary? She thought about it. Sometimes. Sometimes I look at other kids at school and I think about how easy it would be to get them in trouble if I wanted to find out their secrets, to hurt them. She shook her head. I don't want to think that way. But you do. But I do. We stood there in my living room as the afternoon light faded, and I realized we'd crossed some kind of line that we could never uncross. Melody wasn't just my granddaughter anymore. She was something else, something more complicated, someone who'd been forced to grow up too fast and learn skills that no child should have to learn. What happens now? I asked. Now we have Thanksgiving dinner, and I do my homework, and I practice violin, and I pretend to be normal. She looked up at me. And we never tell anyone about this conversation. What about your father? She was quiet for a moment. What about him? Do you think you'll ever forgive him? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. She shrugged. Does it matter? It matters to me. And I think it matters to you. She walked back to the window and stared out at my front yard, where the leaves I'd been raking were scattered again by the wind. Grandpa, Can I ask you something? Of course. If someone hurts you, and you have the power to hurt them back, should you? It was a question I've been asking myself for weeks. I think, I said slowly, that depends on why you're hurting them back. If it's to protect yourself or other people, maybe. If it's just for revenge. What if it's both? I joined her at the window. Then you have to decide which reason is more important to you. She nodded slowly. I think I protected myself. But I also think I wanted him to suffer. The honesty in her voice broke my heart. That's human, sweetheart. That's normal. Is it normal for a 12-year-old to destroy her father's life? Nothing about this situation is normal. She leaned against me, and for a moment she felt like a regular kid again. Small and warm and vulnerable. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, sweetheart. No matter what. We stood there watching the wind scatter leaves across my yard, both of us knowing that everything had changed, both of us pretending that maybe it hadn't. Thanksgiving dinner was smaller than usual. Just Melody and me, sitting at my kitchen table with a turkey that was too big for two people and all the traditional sides my wife used to make. I'd thought about inviting some neighbors, but Melody had asked for just the two of us. I'm not ready for other people yet, she'd said. I'm still figuring out who I am now. We ate in comfortable silence for a while, both lost in our own thoughts. Outside, it was getting dark early, the way it does in late November. Inside, the house felt warm and safe and normal. The bank called yesterday, I said finally. About the college fund. Melody looked up from her mashed potatoes. What did they say? They wanted to confirm the account details. Make sure everything was set up properly. I set down my fork. Melody, there's something I need to tell you about that money. She went very still. What? It's not just your college fund anymore. The FBI recovered additional funds from the insurance fraud investigation, your father's share of the criminal proceeds. Since you're the victim who reported the crimes, those funds are being added to your account as well. How much additional funds? $63,000. She stared at me. So I have, how much total? $110,000. For the first time in months, Melody looked genuinely shocked. That's more than enough for college. It's enough for college and graduate school. Maybe medical school, if that's what you want. She set down her fork and stared at her plate. So I won. I actually won. You did more than win, sweetheart. You secured your future. But at what cost? Her voice was barely a whisper. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Daniel's number again. I looked at Melody, who nodded. Hello, Daniel. Dad. His voice sounded different. Hello. Defeated in a way that went deeper than before. I need to tell you something. What is it? They offered me a plea deal today. 8 years if I cooperate fully, provide testimony against the other people in the fraud ring. He paused. My lawyer says I should take it. That sounds like a good deal, considering. Yeah, it is. Another pause. Dad, I've been thinking a lot about what Melody said. About how she was 10 steps ahead of me. I glanced at Melody, who was listening intently. And she was right. She was smarter than me. She saw what I was becoming before I did. His voice cracked. Dad, I want to talk to her. Please. I know she doesn't want to, but I need to say something to her. I looked at Melody, who hesitated, then held out her hand. Put it on speaker, she said quietly. I did. Melody, are you there? I'm here, Dad. I want you to know that I'm proud of you. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Melody's eyes filled with tears. What? I'm proud of you for being strong enough to stop me. I'm proud of you for being smart enough to protect yourself. I'm proud of you for fighting back when someone tried to hurt you. He was crying now, even if that someone was me. Melody wiped her eyes with her napkin. Dad, I was a terrible father to you. I was selfish and weak, and I put my own wants ahead of your needs. But you're incredible. You're stronger and smarter and braver than I ever was. His voice broke completely. And I'm so sorry that I made you have to be those things to protect yourself from me. The kitchen was silent except for the sound of Daniel crying through the phone speaker. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to know that what you did, it was the right thing to do. Someone needed to stop me, and I'm glad it was you. Melody covered her face with her hands. Dad, you saved me, Melody. You saved me from becoming someone even worse than I already was. And you saved other people from getting hurt by the fraud ring. He took a shaky breath. I know you think I hate you for what you did, but I don't. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry I wasn't worthy of having you as my daughter. The line went quiet. Dad, Melody's voice was small. Yeah, I love you too. Even though you hurt me. Even though I'm angry at you. I still love you. I know, sweetheart. I know. And Dad. Yeah. When you get out of prison, when you've served your time and you're ready to be a better person, maybe we can try again. Maybe we can figure out how to be a family. I heard Daniel's intake of breath through the speaker. I'd like that, he whispered. I'd like that more than anything. But it has to be different. You have to be different. I will be. I promise. Don't promise. Just do it. After we hung up, Melody and I sat in silence for a long time. The turkey was getting cold, but neither of us cared. How do you feel? I asked finally. She thought about it. Sad. Angry. Relieved. Proud. Scared. She looked up at me. Is it possible to feel all those things at once? Not only possible. Normal. Do you think he meant what he said? About being proud of me. I think he did. I think maybe, for the first time in a long time, your father was being completely honest. She nodded slowly. Grandpa, yes. I think I'm ready to be a normal kid again. Or at least try to be. What does that look like? She smiled. A real smile this time. Not the sharp, calculating one I'd learned to fear. It looks like finishing my science project and practicing violin and maybe joining the debate team. She paused. And maybe going to therapy to figure out how to deal with all of this. I think that's a very mature decision. I think I've been mature enough for one lifetime. She picked up her fork again. From now on, I want to save my intelligence for things that matter. Like getting into a good college with the money I fought to protect. We finished our Thanksgiving dinner as darkness fell outside. Later, Melody helped me clean up the dishes, chattering about her upcoming science fair project and whether she should audition for the school orchestra. Normal 12-year-old concerns. But I caught her checking her phone periodically, and I knew she was monitoring something. Maybe just social media. Maybe something more important. Either way, I decided not to ask. Some secrets were worth keeping. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, I found an envelope that had been slipped under my bedroom door. Inside was a handwritten note from Melody. Asterisk, Grandpa. Thank you for not turning me in. Thank you for understanding why I had to do what I did. Thank you for still loving me even though I scared you. I promise I'll try to use my powers for good from now on. But I also promise I'll never let anyone hurt me again without consequences. I hope that's okay with you. Love, your granddaughter, who is definitely still just a kid who likes science and violin. P.S. I've been thinking about what I want to study in college. Maybe computer science. Maybe criminal justice. Maybe both. I think I might be good at catching bad guys. Asterisk. I folded the note and put it in my wallet, next to a picture of her grandmother. Then I turned off the lights and tried to sleep. Outside my window, the wind was still scattering leaves across my yard. But inside, everything felt settled. Safe. Like maybe we were going to be okay. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of violin music drifting through the house. Melody was in the living room, practicing scales with the kind of focused concentration she used to bring to everything. Before the world taught her she needed to be suspicious and strategic and always 10 steps ahead. She looked up when she saw me and smiled. Good morning, Grandpa. Good morning, sweetheart. How did you sleep? Good. Really good. She set down her violin. I had a dream about Grandma last night. She said she was proud of both of us. What else did she say? She said the hard part is over. Now we get to figure out how to be happy. I looked at this remarkable, complicated, dangerous, brilliant child who had saved herself, and maybe saved me too, and I realized that my wife was right. The hard part was over. Now we got to figure out how to be happy. And for the first time in months, I thought maybe we actually could. I drop 2 stories a day. Please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss them. Liking this video is free, and it helps my stories reach the people who need them. Thank you for listening.